Alrighty, folks, we are 6-3 in our last 9 college football tier package picks on my premium site. And if you want to see which one of these free plays on this video that I actually like the best, I've got 3 more college football tier package plays going off here this week. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to my college football free pick video here today for week 5 of the 2024 season. My name is Brock Page. I've been dishing out free sports picks on YouTube since 2016. And with that, folks, we're going to dive right into some free content. And we're going to start off with Army at Temple, 7:30 Thursday night at the Link. Army's minus 13.5, totals 45 and a hook. And the Black Knights are running for 356 yards a game. No real surprise there. They're 3-0 in the year, and they covered in all 3 of those victories. They're facing a Temple squad who's 124th in the nation in rushing defense. Now, weather-wise, rainy and sloppy Thursday in South Philly. Give me Army minus 13.5, under 45 and a hook. Next matchup, Virginia Tech, Miami Hurricanes, 7:30 Friday night. Miami's minus 18, totals 55. And the undefeated Hurricanes are playing some solid defense this year. They're allowing just 64 yards a game on the ground. They're also second in the country in sacks per game. They're facing a sloppy Virginia Tech O-line who's 102nd in sacks allowed. And because of that, the Hokies are completing only 59% of their throws. Now, weather-wise, we've got a literal hurricane coming through this week. Wouldn't be overly shocked if this game got postponed or moved. That in mind, though, I still think Miami should be able to move the football. Give me the Hurricanes minus 18, over 55. Next game, little Big Ten action. Washington at Rutgers, 8 o'clock Friday night. Rutgers is minus 3, totals 46. The Scarlet Knights are completing only 15 throws a game. You know, I'm not so certain they're built for a track meet in this one. They're facing a Washington program who ranks 7th in total yards allowed per game, doing a great job on the defensive side of the football. And no real surprise here, the Huskies are giving up only 10 points a game on average. I think the Scarlet Knights are going to have problems moving the football here. Give me Washington plus 3, under 46. Next game, Navy UAB, 12 o'clock Saturday. Navy's minus 3, totals 56. And the Midshipmen are 3-0 to start the year, scoring a lot of points in those victories. Navy's averaging 48 points a game, and I'll tell you, they run the hell out of the ball. And this UAB defense, they're allowing just about 200 yards a game on the ground. They also lost their last 2 straight. They gave up 69 points in total in those losses. That in mind, though, 2 out of UAB's 3 games this year did stay under the total. Give me Navy minus 3, under 56. All right, next matchup, BYU taking on Baylor. That's going to be a 12 o'clock Eastern start time, and I'm going to have a tough time finding the... Actually, it doesn't even look like that's listed behind us here. But anyway, BYU Baylor, 12 o'clock East. Baylor's minus 3, totals 45.5. And I'll tell you, the Bears are coming fresh off a bad loss to Colorado. They allowed the Buffs to throw a Hail Mary to tie the game. Fumbled on the half-yard line to lose it in overtime. Just a lot of bad stuff happening there. And I'll tell you, the Bears are not overly explosive on offense. They're completing only 14 throws a game. Now, they're facing a BYU defense who's allowing only 4.4 yards per pass attempt. That's 7th in the country in that particular category. And no real surprise here, the Cougs are giving up only 12 points a game. And they face teams like Kansas State, Wyoming, and SMU during that stretch. Now, oddly enough, the Cougs did see 2 games this year fly over the posted total despite their good defense. Meanwhile, Baylor is coming fresh off that 69-point barn burner themselves. Give me BYU plus 3, over 45.5. Next matchup, little Big Ten action here. Minnesota, Michigan, 12 o'clock East. Michigan's minus 10, totals 38. And I'll tell you, for a team laying double digits in a conference game, you know, Michigan's struggled a bit moving the football. They're currently a bottom 10 passing offense in the nation, and they're facing a tough Golden Gopher defense that tends to keep everything in front of them. As a matter of fact, Minnesota's in the top 3 in the country in defensive yards per game. They're allowing only 99 yards per contest through the air, giving Minnesota plus 10, under 38. Next matchup, SEC, Kentucky, Ole Miss, 12 o'clock East. Ole Miss is minus 17, totals 53. And I'll tell you, as dominant as the Rebels have looked, they're going to face a Kentucky defense who they're not going to lay down for them. They're certainly no slouch. The Wildcats are 6th in the country in total yards allowed. And I'll tell you, for a team catching 17 points in this spot, they did cover the number in 3 out of their last 4 games. Now, total-wise, we do have 2 very good defenses on the field in this one. Both schools 3-1 to the under in their last 4, respectively. Give me Kentucky plus 17, under 53. All right, next matchup. Holy Cross, Syracuse, 12 o'clock East. And this game is currently off the board. Kyle McCord should be able to complete about 80% of his throws in this one. Can't imagine Holy Cross is going to do much to slow these guys down. No line on this game. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe 40 points. Who knows? Give me Syracuse getting the job done. For the sake of argument, let's just say Syracuse money line. I'm sure it'll be minus 3,000. All right, next matchup here. Nebraska-Purdue, Big Ten action, 12 o'clock East. Nebraska is minus 10, totals 49. And despite their loss last week, the Cornhuskers are still playing some good football. 3-1 on the year, 12 points a game they're allowing on D. And they're facing a Purdue squad who's throwing for just $171 a game, 102nd in yards per completion. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, the Boilermakers did see their last 2 straight get over the total. Meanwhile, Nebraska saw their game fly 13 points above the line last week. Now, weather-wise, it is going to be a wet one in West Lafayette. That said, give me Nebraska minus 10 over 49. All right, next matchup. Western Kentucky, Boston College, 12 o'clock East. BC is minus 13, totals 55. And Boston College has played really good defense this season. 14 points a game they're allowing. A handful of, interceptions. And they're facing a Western Kentucky team who really, they don't run the football all that well. 117th in rushing yards. Meanwhile, on the defensive end of things, they've allowed a ton of chunk plays, actually allowing over 15.1 yards per completion. That's almost worse in the NCAA. Give me Boston College minus 13 over 55. Next matchup, South Florida, Tulane, 12 o'clock East. Tulane's minus 7, total 64.5. And the Green Wave lost 2 out of their last 3 games. Having a tough time slowing down the run. They're actually 110th in yards allowed per rush. And unfortunately for them, South Florida is a top 25 running offense. Give me USF plus 7 over 64.5. All right, next game. Oklahoma State, Kansas State, 12 o'clock East. K-State's minus 5.5, totals 55 and a hook. And the Wildcats are defending the run quite well. Just 2.8 yards a carry they're giving up. And they're facing an Oklahoma State squad who's struggled moving the football. Actually, just 96 yards a game on the ground they're averaging. When it comes to the total, they did see overs against the likes of Arkansas and South Dakota State. Meanwhile, Kansas State saw an over against Tulane. Give me K-State minus 5.5 over 55 and a hook. All right, next game, Maryland, Indiana. That'll be a 12 o'clock Eastern kickoff. Indiana's minus 5, totals 55. And the 4-0 Hoosiers, they covered the number in their last 3 straight. A ton of points they're scoring thus far. Actually hung up 42 against UCLA, 52 against Charlotte. And they're currently in the top 10 in yards per play from scrimmage. Now they're facing a Maryland squad who's struggled a bit in their secondary. They're 112th in yards allowed per completion. When it comes to the total, the Terps did see an under against Virginia. Meanwhile, the Hoosiers saw their opener against Florida International stay under the line. Give me Indiana -5, under 55. Next matchup, Buffalo, UConn, 12 o'clock East. UConn's -5.5, totals 46 and a hook. And the Huskies did cover the number in their last 3 straight. They're actually moving the chains very well. They're gaining over 240 yards a game on the ground. And passing-wise, the Huskies are averaging 14.7 yards per completion. That puts them in the top 20 in that particular category. They're facing a Buffalo squad who continues to struggle moving the football themselves. They're actually in the bottom 10 of the nation in yards per game. Give me UConn -5.5, under 46 and a hook. Next game, Northern Illinois, NC State, 12 o'clock Eastern start. NC State's -7, totals 47. And I just think the Wolfpack has a little bit too much talent for the Huskies. NIU caught Notre Dame by surprise a few weeks ago. I'm not going to take anything away from them. That was certainly an historic, win for the program. But they're going to lose that game 9 out of 10 times. Well, probably more than that. That's a once-in-a-lifetime win. Notre Dame got caught with their pants down. They just didn't prepare well enough for them. They're facing an NC State team who has some bad numbers themselves, but that's because they had to play the likes of Clemson and Tennessee within the past few weeks. They were actually able to put up 35 points against Clemson in that loss. And once again, they're facing an NIU team who just lost to Buffalo. They just lost to Buffalo after that historic upset win for their program over Notre Dame. Obviously a complete fluke of a game, but this NIU offensive unit, they've scored only 36 points in their last 2 games. I think they're outmatched here. I don't think NC State's going to get caught with their pants down. I think they're going to prepare for them as if they are Notre Dame. Give me NC State -7, under 57. All right, next game, Ball State, James Madison, 1:30 p.m. East. JMU's 20.5, totals 57 and a hook. And the Dukes just hung up 70 on UNC last week. They're 3-0 to start the year, 8th in the country in yards per completion. And they're facing a porous Ball State secondary, who's actually in the bottom 5 in the nation in yards allowed per pass attempt. And no real surprise here. They're giving up over 530 yards a game. That puts them in the bottom 10 in that particular category. Hey, if this weather holds up, JMU could hang another 70 this week as well. Give me James Madison -20.5, over 57 and a hook. Next game, Texas State, Sam Houston, 3 o'clock East. Texas State is -7, totals 56. The Bobcats of Texas State, they're averaging 37 points a game, top 30 in the nation in yards per contest. And they're taking on a Sam Houston squad who really doesn't throw it all too well on offense. They're 105th in passing. Now, total-wise, they did see their contest against Central Florida go over the number. Meanwhile, Texas State on the other side, they saw all their games this year get over the line thanks to that high-powered offense. Give me Texas State -7, over 56. Next game, Georgia Southern taking on Georgia State, 3:30 p.m. East. Georgia Southern is -1, totals 58.5. And I'll tell you, this Georgia Southern defense, they've allowed 52 points or more twice already through 4 games. They're currently allowing a staggering 519 yards a game on defense. And they're facing a Georgia State team who actually won their last 2 straight. And they put up 36 points against Vanderbilt in a shocking victory last week. Ted Hurst had 7 grabs for $128 and a couple of scores in that game. And the Panthers have done a nice job protecting Christian Valou. If you recognize that name, he was at Penn State a few years back. But anyway, Georgia State, they're allowing just 0.7 sacks per contest. I think they get the job done here. Give me Georgia State +1. Over 58.5. All right, next ball game, Liberty, Appalachian State, 3:30 Eastern start time. Liberty is -3, total 62. And the undefeated Liberty Flames, they're in the top 20 in yards per game. Meanwhile, this Appy State defense, they're giving up over 6.9 yards per play from scrimmage. That's actually bottom 5 in the country in that stat. And no real surprise here, the Mountaineers are giving up a hefty 36 points per contest. Give me Liberty -3 over 62. Next game, Arkansas, Texas A&M, 3:30 p.m. East. A&M's the 5-point favorite, totals 52.5. And even though this isn't really a huge number, you still got to consider the fact that A&M failed to cover in 3 out of their last 4 ball games this year. Those were failures to cover against the likes of Bowling Green, McNeese State, and Notre Dame. And I'll tell you what, offensively, these guys are not throwing the football well. They're averaging just $161 a game through the air. They're facing an Arkansas D who allows just 20 points a game, and they rank in the top 15 in rushing defense. Now, on the other side of the football, this Arkansas offensive unit is scoring 41 points per contest. Give me Arkansas +5 over 52.5. Next ball game, Fresno, UNLV, 3:30 Eastern start time. UNLV's -3, totals 52. And the undefeated Rebels covered the number in all 3 of their victories. Just 13 points a game they're allowing on D. They're facing a Fresno squad who really hasn't run the ball well. They're gaining only 3.8 yards per carry. UNLV -3, under 52. Next game, Big Ten, Wisconsin, USC, 3:30 p.m. East. The USC Trojans are -14, totals 50.5. This Trojan defense has defended the pass quite well. They're in the top 10 in the country in yards allowed per completion. They're facing a Wisconsin offensive unit who really doesn't move the chains much. They're 122nd in yards per completion, 119th in yards per play from scrimmage. Now, oddly enough, their most recent outing against Alabama, it got over the total. Meanwhile, the Trojans saw their matchup Saturday against Michigan fly 7 points above the posted number themselves. Give me USC -14 over 50.5. Next matchup here, a little action here. Akron taking on Ohio, 3:30 Eastern kickoff. Ohio is the 13-point favorite, totals 46. And I'll tell you, I really don't like this number for the Ohio Bobcats. It's a conference game, double digits. They failed to cover in their last 2 straight. And I'll tell you, when the ball's in their hands, not a lot of points get up on that scoreboard. They were averaging just 19 points a game this year. Now, total-wise, both defenses, they need a lot of work. Both defenses have given up a lot of points respectively. Akron also saw all 4 of their games this year all get over the posted total. Give me Akron +13 over 46. Next matchup, Louisiana taking on Wake Forest, 3:30 Eastern start. Wake Forest is -3, total 61. And even though the Deacs are favored in this one, they did fail to cover in all of their games this season. 71 total points they allowed just in their past 2 contests. No real surprise here, folks. Wake Forest is in the bottom 10 in yards allowed per game. And they're facing a Cajun offense who really likes to pound the football. They're gaining 6.1 yards per carry on the ground. Of course, as a team, the Cajuns are averaging 36 points per contest. Give me Louisiana +3 over 61. All right, next matchup, Western Michigan taking on Marshall. That's going to be a 3:30 Eastern start. Marshall's -6, totals 54. And I tell you, I really don't like the Herd in this spot here. They scored just 28 total points in their last 2 games, having problems moving the sticks. And they're facing a Western Michigan team who actually covered against Wisconsin a few weeks ago. They're in the top 20 in yards per completion. Give me Western Michigan +6 over 54. All right, next game. San Diego State taking on Central Michigan, 3:30 Eastern start. Central Michigan's -2.5, totals 54 and a hook. And the Chippewas put up 37 points against Ball State on Saturday, 5.9 yards per rush for the year. Unfortunately for the Aztecs on the other side, the traveling Aztecs, they've struggled slowing down the run. San Diego State's allowing nearly 200 yards a game on the ground. When it comes to the total, the Aztecs' last two straight did fall under the number. Meanwhile, Central Michigan saw their contest against Illinois a few weeks ago stay under the line themselves. Central Michigan -2.5, under 54 and a hook. Next game, TCU, Kansas, 3:30 Eastern start. Kansas is -2, total 60. And the Jayhawks lost their last three straight. Haven't covered a point spread yet this season. They're facing a TCU program who, offensively, they can sling it. They're throwing for 367 yards a game. They lead the country in completions per game as well. And no real surprise, the Horned Frogs are averaging nearly 40 points per contest. Now, oddly enough, total-wise, TCU did see their matchup this year against Long Island stay under the number. Meanwhile, Kansas on the other side, they saw 3 out of their last 4 stay under the total themselves. Give me TCU +2, under 60. Next game, Oklahoma-Auburn, 3:30 Eastern start time. Almost said first pitch. 3:30 Eastern kickoff. Oklahoma's -3, totals 47. But even though they're favored away from home here, the Sooners have had some issues moving the chains. They're 126th in yards per play from scrimmage, and they're also facing an Auburn defense who allows just 16 points a game. And I'll tell you, they make it tough to throw the football. They're holding opposing quarterbacks to just 54% passing. Give me Auburn +3, under 47. Next game, Louisville, Notre Dame, 3:30 Eastern start. Notre Dame's -5.5, totals 48. And the Irish did fail to cover in 2 out of their last 3. Not overly dynamic throwing the football. These guys are averaging just $1.73 a game through the air, and they're facing a really good Louisville defense who allows only 11 points a game, and they rank in the top 25 in sacks. Give me Louisville +5.5, under 48. Next contest, UMass, Miami, Ohio, 3:30 Eastern start. Miami's -17, totals 47. And the Redhawks are allowing just 22 points a game, top 25 in yards allowed per completion. And they're facing a UMass team who doesn't move the ball well themselves. They're in the bottom 10 in yards per play from scrimmage. That's bottom 10 in the nation, by the way. They're also allowing more sacks per game than any other program besides 3. Give me Miami, Ohio, -17, under 47. Next game, some more action here. Eastern Michigan, Kent State, 3:30 East. Eastern Michigan is -14, totals 48. And the Eastern Michigan Eagles, they've been perfect against the point spread through 4 games. Covers against the likes of Washington, UMass, Jacksonville State. Of course, offensively, they're averaging 28 points a game. Not too shabby there. And they're facing a terrible Kent State defense who's giving up 51 points a game. That is more than any other program in college football. Give me Eastern Michigan -14, over 48. All right, next contest. Colorado, UCF, 3:30 Eastern start time. And Central Florida, they are the 14-point favorite in this one, total 63. And I think this is going to be a tough number to cover, in my opinion. UCF's secondary, they're allowing 22 completions a game. They rarely get to the quarterback. As a matter of fact, UCF is second to last in the country in sacks. And that's good news for Shedeur Sanders, because he's throwing for over 335 yards a game. Colorado's in the top 5 in passing yards. Colorado might be able to win this one outright. Give me the Buffs, +14, over 63. Next matchup, UNC Duke, 4 o'clock East. Duke's -2.5, totals 56. And the Blue Devils are undefeated through 4 games, top 10 in yards allowed per play. They're facing a UNC team who failed to cover in all of their games this season. Like I said earlier, they just gave up 70 points to James Madison. I think they allowed, 53 points in the first half alone. Now, no real surprise here. The Tar Heels are allowing nearly 16 yards per completion. That puts them in the bottom 5 in the country in that stat. The secondary definitely having problems. Give me Duke -2.5, over 56. Next game, Texas San Antonio, East Carolina, 4 o'clock East. ECU's -3.5, totals 53 and a hook. Now, the ECU Pirates, they're a top 25 passing team. And Utz is in the bottom 5 in yards allowed per completion. Enough said. Give me ECU -3.5, over 53 and a hook. Next game, Mississippi State, Texas, 4:15 East. The Texas Longhorns are -39, total 61. And even though the Longhorns have been totally dominant this year, this is just a really large number to cover in a conference game. Plus, listen, this is not discrediting Texas at all. And I hate to even say it's a fade of Texas. Texas might win by 38 points, but that is a huge number for a conference game. And I'll tell you what, Mississippi State, they're throwing the football pretty well themselves. They're also averaging 31 points per contest. I don't think the Bulldogs are completely helpless in this one. Give me Mississippi State +39, over 61. Next matchup, Old Dominion, Bowling Green, 5 o'clock Eastern kickoff. Bowling Green's -9, totals 49.5. And, kind of a big number here, almost double digits. I don't know if Bowling Green's that kind of team to be laying big numbers like that. Bowling Green's 121st in yards allowed per play. And as bad as Old Dominion, as bad as their record is, 2 out of their 3 contests this year were one-score games. They were close. They were competitive. They actually covered against South Carolina. When it comes to the total, the Monarchs' contest against Virginia Tech a few weeks ago did get over the total. Meanwhile, Bowling Green saw their matchup against Penn State a few weeks ago fly double-digit points above the posted number themselves. I like Old Dominion to keep this one close. Give me the Monarchs +9, over 49.5. Next matchup, Louisiana Tech, Florida International, 6 o'clock East. Louisiana Tech's -2, totals 51. And hey, I like the Bulldogs in this spot here. Competed tough over the past 2 weeks against Tulsa and NC State. Playing with the big boys there a little bit. And when it comes to defensive play, they run the ball well. I'm sorry, they don't run the ball. They've played the run well. They're allowing just 3.1 yards per rush. And they're facing a Florida International squad who actually lost their last 2 straight. And they gave up a ton of points in the process. They allowed 83 points in their last 2 outings. Those were games against the likes of Monmouth and Florida Atlantic. By the way, that Monmouth game, they gave up a ton of points. I believe they failed to cover that one. That might have been an outright loss, too. I'm not real sure. But Monmouth has no business scoring that many points against these guys. And no real surprise here, folks. This Panther defense, they allow over 435 yards a game. Give me Louisiana Tech -2, over 51. All right, next game, Tennessee Martin taking on Kennesaw State, 6 o'clock East. The game is currently off the board. I'm guessing we'll see a line maybe Friday for this game, but currently off the board. If you want to know a little bit about Kennesaw State, Isaac Paul, he leads the Owls in tackles. Kicker Austin Welch, 5 for 5 on field goals. Perfect on extra points, although they only scored 3 touchdowns this year. That in mind, though, hey, give me Kennesaw State money line. All right. Next matchup, another dog shit game. Wagner, Florida Atlantic, 6 o'clock East. Another game that's off the board. FAU did cover against the likes of FIU and Michigan State this year. And I tell you, if you throw out that UConn game on Saturday, Florida Atlantic, they played some pretty good defense. They're allowing under 21 points a game this year, throwing out that UConn game. Give me FAU money line. All right, next contest, Tulsa, North Texas, 7 o'clock Eastern kickoff. North Texas is -6.5, total 68.5. And North Texas has definitely put up a lot of points this year. They're coming off a 44-point effort against Wyoming, 52 points against South Alabama in the opener. And they're facing a Tulsa squad who lost 2 out of their last 3 themselves. And they're currently allowing over 30 points a game. Now, their defense is getting minimal pressure on the quarterback. And they're 104th in pass defense. Give me North Texas -6.5 over 68.5. Next ball game, Stanford, Clemson, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Clemson's -23, totals 57. And this Clemson defense, they've definitely allowed their fair share of yards. They're currently they're in the bottom 15 in the nation in yards allowed per rush. And aside from allowing 30 points a game, they're also 105th in sacks. They're facing a Stanford squad who won their last 2 straight. 67 points they scored in those victories, by the way. Give me Stanford +23 over 57. Next game, Charlotte, Rice, 7 o'clock East. Rice is -7, totals 46.5. And I do like the Owls in this spot here. They're 11th in the country in sacks, getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And for those who don't know, the Owls are allowing just 135 yards a game through the air. And they're facing a Charlotte team who does not really move it all that well themselves. 2.9 yards per rush they're averaging. And no real surprise here, the 49ers are being held to just 17 points per contest. Give me Rice -7 under 46.5. All right, next matchup, Iowa State, Houston, 7 o'clock East. Iowa State's -12.5, totals 44. And I'll tell you, the Cyclones are doing a terrific job protecting the quarterback. Discipline on offense, don't really commit too many penalties. And in turn, they're in the top 25 in yards per pass attempt. And they're going to face a Houston squad who's been held to 12 points or less in 3 out of their last 4. They're actually coming fresh off a 34-point shutout on Saturday. Played like they didn't have a pulse. The Cougars are currently in the bottom 10 in the country in points per game. Give me Iowa State -12.5 under 44. All right, next game, a little Big Ten action. Ohio State, Michigan State. That'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern kickoff. Ohio State's -25, totals 49. And the 3-0 Buckeyes racked up 49 points or more in all 3 of those victories. Now, of course, they essentially have been playing the children of the poor in those games. But regardless of that, you still got to execute, and they've done just that. Meanwhile, Sparty on the other side, they're coming fresh off a loss to Boston College, just 19 points they scored in that game. And even though they have had some, success moving the football this year, they're completing only 56% of their throws. I think they're going to have to do a little bit better than that here against the Buckeyes. Now, total-wise, Sparty did see their matchup against Maryland a few weeks ago fly 7 points above the posted number. Meanwhile, Ohio State saw their last 3 straight get over the line themselves. Give me Ohio State -25 over 49. Next matchup, UL Monroe, Troy, 7 o'clock East. Troy's -8, totals 46. Now, Troy did lose 3 of 4 to start the year. Difficulties on the defensive side of the football for them. Their opponents are completing 73% of their throws against their secondary. That's actually second worst in college football. It's been way too easy. Of course, on the ground, they're also allowing nearly 200 yards a game rushing. So kind of been a mess for these guys. And they're facing a UL Monroe team who actually won 2 of 3 to start the year, covered twice in those games. And, you know, the Warhawks, they're doing a good job getting pressure. They're 30th in sacks, 6th in fumbles. Give me UL Monroe +8, under 46. All right, next matchup, the one everyone's waiting for, Georgia-Bama, 7:30 East. Georgia's -2, totals 49. And I'll tell you what, these teams' last 5 straight meetings all went over 49 total points. Bama saw overs against the likes of Wisconsin and Western Kentucky this year. Of course, the Tide's also rushing for nearly 250 yards a game. Meanwhile, Georgia on the other side, they're completing over 70% of their throws on offense, doing a great job protecting the quarterback. Can't give you a freebie on this one, but what I can give you is a total. Give me the over 49. All right, next matchup. Little Big Ten action here. Illinois, Penn State, 7:30 East. Penn State's -18, totals 48. And I do think the Nittany Lions could be in trouble here. You know, this is a big number, so I'm not even talking about the spread. I think, like, in the outright game, they could be in trouble. You know, Illinois is allowing only 12 points a game. They're 37th in sacks. Meanwhile, Penn State, they've been beating up on the MAC in their last 2 games, so really untested. Winners against the likes of Kent State and Bowling Green. And I'll tell you, that Bowling Green, you know, game was a bit dicey. The Nittany Lions, they found themselves down, 4 at the half? I think they were down 24-20 at the half. So I think the 4-0 Fighting Illini, they've been tested a little bit more already. They've been in the trenches, and they garnered big wins against the likes of Kansas and Nebraska already. Give me Illinois +18, under 48. Next matchup, Middle Tennessee taking on Memphis, 7:30 Eastern start. Memphis is -25, total 61.5. And I'll tell you, this Tiger offense is really moving the ball well. They're averaging 36 points a game, completing a lot of throws. And Middle Tennessee, on the other side, they have the worst passing defense in the nation. They're giving up an NCAA worst 342 yards a game through the air. Now, they're also on a 3-game losing streak, and they're giving up 43 points per contest. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, their game against Ole Miss this year fell under the posted number. And Memphis, for some reason, they've gone 3-1 to the under in their last 4. Give me Memphis -25, under 61.5. Maybe it'll be like a 50-14 game or something like that. I don't know. No, that would put it over. No, not 50 to 10. How about that? All right, next game. South Alabama, LSU, 7:45 East. The LSU Tigers are -21, total 65. And I'll tell you what, the Tigers are a terrible covering team. They failed to cover in all their games this year. 102nd in the country in yards allowed per play. A little bit shaky on D. And they're facing a South Alabama program who runs the football quite well. They're in the top 20 in rushing. Give me South Alabama +21, keeping that one close, over 65. Next ball game, Air Force, Wyoming, 8 o'clock East. The Air Force Falcons are -3.5, totals 35. And I think the Falcons can, put a game together here. They're facing a Wyoming defense who struggles against the run. They're also allowing over $180 a game on the ground. And no real surprise because of that. The Cowboys are giving up 36 points a game. Listen, Air Force hasn't been crisp, but I think if you're going to get things going, get the ball rolling, and have a rare good game, I think this is the week that it happens. Give me Air Force -3.5, over 35. Hate that over 35. Such a square play, but I think Air Force can put up some points here. All right, next game, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, 8 o'clock East. Texas Tech Red Raiders are -4, totals 58. And I'll tell you what, even though they're favored by 4, this Red Raiders secondary, they've cost these guys quite a bit. They're 121st in passing defense. And they're facing a Cincy squad who gained 7.1 yards of play. Doing a great job moving the chains. Give me Cincy +4 over 58. Next matchup, Florida State, SMU, 8 o'clock East. SMU's -5.5, totals 57. And I actually do like the Ponies in this spot here. They've won 3 of 4 to start the year. Big-time offensive production. They actually put up 66 points on Saturday against TCU. Brashard Smith, 127 rushing yards, 3 scores for him. They're facing a Florida State team who's scored 21 points or less in every single game. They're a bottom 5 rushing team in college football. And no real surprise here, they're 126th in scoring. Give me SMU -5.5, under 57. Next game, the battle for New Mexico. I'm talking about the New Mexico Lobos taking on the New Mexico State Aggies. 8 o'clock Eastern showdown. The New Mexico Lobos are -9.5, totals 58. But I tell you, for a team laying nearly double digits, the Lobos they've been pure shit. Winless in 4 games, bottom 5 in defensive yards per play. And no real surprise here, folks. The Lobos defensively, they're allowing more points a game than any other school besides one. And they're facing an Aggies team who, actually played in some tight games to start the year. They actually covered against Liberty in that 6-point loss. So they've been competitive. I mean, this is not a great team, but they've proven that they can, be in the game at least a little bit. Total-wise, 2 out of the Aggies' last 3 did get over the total, while the Lobos went 3-1 to the over in their last 4. Give me the New Mexico State Aggies +9.5, over 58. Next contest, Wazoo taking on Boise State, 10 o'clock East. Boise State's -8, total is 65 points. Now, the Broncos did fail to cover in 2 of 3 to start the year. They're 113th in points allowed. They're facing a high-powered Wazoo team. That's Washington State, by the way. And they can certainly sling it. They like to throw it around the yard a bit. 46 points a game they're averaging. Top 10 in yards per game. Give me Washington State +8, over 65. Next matchup, Arizona-Utah, 10:15 East. Utah's -11.5, totals 50 and a hook. And I tell you, the running Utes have been kind of tough to beat. They're undefeated through 4 games, very tough on defense. The Utes are giving up just 13 points per contest, and they have the second lowest completion percentage in football. They're allowing these guys are holding opposing quarterbacks to just 44% passing. And they're facing an Arizona club who's yet to cover a point spread this season. They've struggled on offense over the past few weeks. The Cats scored just 29 total points in their last 2 games. And on the defensive side of things, they're 105th in yards allowed per rush. Give me the Utes, -11.5, over 50 and a hook. And that, folks, we're going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. Oregon, UCLA, 11 o'clock East. The Oregon Ducks are -24 away from home. Totals 55.5. And the Ducks are completing an NCAA best 84% of their passes. They don't miss. And through 3 contests, Oregon's averaging 37 points a game. They're facing a UCLA defense who's 104th in points allowed per game. Matter of fact, the Bruins are allowing more completions a game than any other score in the country besides one. Give me Oregon, -24, over 55.5. With that, folks, we're going to dive into our quick pick recap. Army -13.5, under 45 and a hook. Miami Hurricanes -18, over 55. Washington Huskies +3, under 46. Navy -3, under 56. BYU +3, over 45.5. Minnesota +10, under 38. Kentucky +17, under 53. Syracuse moneyline. Nebraska -10, over 49. Boston College minus 13 over 55. South Florida plus 7 over 64.5. K-State minus 5.5 over 55 and a hook. Indiana minus 5 under 55. UCONN minus 5.5 under 46 and a hook. NC State minus 7 under 57. James Madison minus 20.5 over 57 and a hook. Texas State minus 7 over 56. Georgia State plus 1 over 58.5. Liberty minus 3 over 62. Arkansas plus 5 over 52.5. UNLV minus 3 under 52. USC Trojans minus 14 over 50.5. Akron Zips plus 13 over 46. Louisiana plus 3 over 61. Western Michigan plus 6 over 54. Central Michigan minus 2.5 under 54 and a hook. TCU plus 2 under 60. Auburn plus 3 under 47. Louisville plus 5.5 under 48. Miami, Ohio minus 17 under 47. Eastern Michigan minus 14 over 48. Colorado plus 14 over 63. Duke minus 2.5 over 56. East Carolina minus 3.5 over 53 and a hook. Mississippi State plus 39 over 61. Old Dominion plus 9 over 49.5. Louisiana Tech minus 2 over 51. Kennesaw State money line. Florida Atlantic money line. North Texas minus 6.5 over 68 and a hook. Stanford plus 23 over 57. Rice minus 7 under 46.5. Iowa State minus 12.5 under 44. Ohio State minus 25 over 49. UL Monroe plus 8 under 46. I like the over 49 in the Georgia-Alabama game. Illinois plus 18 under 48. Memphis minus 25 under 61.5. South Alabama plus 21 over 65. Air Force minus 3.5 over 35 points. Cincinnati plus 4 over 58. SMU minus 5.5 under 57. New Mexico State plus 9.5 over 58. Washington State plus 8 over 65. Utah minus 11.5 over 50.5. And give me Oregon minus 24 over 55 and a hook. And with that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium site. Now, if you do end up getting a membership here today on my premium page, just a friendly reminder, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships during that time frame, absolutely free. They're going to be included with your membership. And that's why I always tell folks, you know, that Gold Club package, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership. Gives you access to every single premium selection line, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. And of course, as an added bonus, you also get access to my exclusive Gold Club video each and every day during that time frame, absolutely free. It's going to be included with your membership. But most importantly, folks, gotta thank you for joining me right here on the free video. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, folks, happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium site.